Good afternoon, and welcome back to our Lent study on Max Lucado's Anxious for Nothing. I'm Pastor John. This is Sarah. I'm going to go ahead and get started with our first question for today, which is, do you know people who are characterized by calm? How do those people make you feel? Do you enjoy being around them? How do other people respond or interact with them? What other qualities and character traits do they have that stem from their contagious calm? So I have to be honest, Sarah, I cannot think of anybody I know who I would describe as characterized as calm. I would love to meet them. But and I can think of people that I would maybe describe that way, but I don't know anybody personally who is characterized by that. So I've got nothing for this question, pretty much.
Oh, you got nothing for this question. Okay, well then I guess it's going to be up to me. So I've been told that I'm pretty calm. Twice in my life I've been downsized. And that could be a pretty anxiety-ridden time. But both times I just said, okay, it's up to God. I will do my part. I will apply for jobs. I will go on interviews. But really, it's up to God. I mean, my first job I was downsized because I was the younger of the two people. And they thought that I would have an easier time getting a job. And you know what? I had a job in 2 weeks. I didn't even get unemployment. I wasn't unemployed long enough to get unemployment. But the second time it happened, people went, oh, this will be easy. You went through this before. But at the time, my father-in-law was suffering through the beginnings of the later stages of dementia. And it took me years to get a job. Did I feel all anxiety-ridden? No, because at the time, I had another purpose in life. I was there for my mother-in-law, to get my father-in-law in the right place, to get him the right treatments. That's where I needed to be. If I had been working, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And now that I'm in another job, I can honestly say, I really think that's where God put me.
Right. There
are a lot of things happening there that just need me to be there, to kind of calm everything down, to maybe keep things from getting quite so out of control. So do other people enjoy being around me then? I guess is the real question. I think so. I've been told that when other people have gone through similar things, when they've lost a job, when they've, had to move suddenly or whatever, that they kind of look at my calm and just kind of go, well, if she can get through that, I can get through this. And I think that's what happens sometimes. People who are calm serve as that anchor for other people who are living an anxiety-ridden life.
Right. They want to know your secret.
Yeah, what's my secret? My secret is, Lord, you know what's going to happen, and I don't, and remind me that you're in charge. And if you start thinking other things, God kind of goes, yeah, I'm in charge, and kind of hauls you back. So it kind of feeds into this next question. Anxiety increases when we feel we're losing control. It is amplified when we feel everything is up to us, or we are the only ones that can fix a situation. Hence, anxiety is amplified when we feel alone. When do you feel the most alone? Is it in a certain situation, with a person, an experience, or a season of life that causes you to feel alone? Is there someone you go to when you feel alone? Has that person ever let you down? Or worse, has that person made the loneliness greater?
So this is just a bad chapter for me because honestly, I don't know what it is, but generally, like when I've gone through difficult times, I haven't felt like I was alone. And I think that's probably why I don't necessarily look at those times as being as bad as you'd think. I don't know. I just, I always just kind of, it's kind of, I guess, cheesy to say, but I always feel like God is there with me. I feel like God is present in kind of every sort of situation in my life. And so as a result, I don't feel alone. Does not mean that every situation of my life is wonderful and I love it, but I at least feel like God's there.
Oh, goodness.
So, so for me, I don't necessarily have someone I go to when I feel that way. I guess you could say that I'm going to God, in which case then like he has not let me down in that sort of situation. So that's just me, though. I mean, I can completely understand. I feel like I'm an outlier when it comes to that. Very much so.
So I just got promoted at work. And I feel very alone because the managers other than me have been together for a while. And now the crew kind of sees me as not crew member anymore. So where do I fit into that structure at work? And I think that's where I feel the most alone because I kept all my old job responsibilities, got new ones, and nobody's helping me at all. So that's when I feel the most alone. Maybe somebody out there has been through a similar experience where they get to the point where everybody kind of relies on them, and
right.
Yet they don't really have anybody that they can turn to kind of offload these feelings of overload, these feelings
right.
that result in anxiety. So I don't have anybody that I turn to. I have never cultivated close friends. So that's something that God has not put in my life. But as other people made the loneliness greater, yeah.
All right.
Every day.
So we have a verse here that kind of defines calm. For the righteous will never be moved. He will be remembered forever. He is not afraid of bad news. His heart is firm, trusting in the Lord. His heart is steady. And that is Psalm 112, 6 through 8. According to this verse, where does steadiness originate?
In the heart.
In the heart. Yes.
In the heart.
So, it comes from the heart. So, for kind of the last thing before we go into our meditation, I'd like us to kind of, I'd like you all out there to kind of take a moment, pause the video, do what you have to do. Just take a moment and go to God and just ask Him for greater trust in the nearness of His presence. It does, I will say that it does help somewhat. Speaking as somebody who does feel like God is present kind of in almost every moment of my life, it does help. It does. I mean, and this is not to say that I don't experience anxiety and stress and stuff, but I can attest to the idea that, seeking after that is something that is good. So with that, go ahead, pause the video, take a moment to do that. And I'm now going to let Sarah, you go in with our meditation.
I'm going to let them have a moment.
They've had their moment?
They've had their moment, okay. Sometimes I don't always get that pause button pushed immediately when you tell me to pause. So I was giving them a little extra time. All right, our closing meditation for the day. In the ultimate declaration of communion, God called Himself Emmanuel, which means God with us. He became flesh. He became sin. He defeated the grave. He is still with us. In the form of His Spirit, He comforts, teaches, and convicts. Do not assume God is watching from a distance. Avoid the quicksand that bears the marker God has left you. Do not indulge in this lie. If you do, your problems will be amplified by a sense of loneliness. It's one thing to face a challenge, but to face it all alone? Isolation creates a downward cycle of fret. Choose instead to be the person who clutches the presence of God with both hands. As it says in Psalm 118, verse 6, "The Lord is with me. I will not be afraid. What can mere mortals do to me?"